lady. How are you doing? It's another opportunity. It's another week. Welcome to a brand new week. We have the opportunity to be better, to do better, to improve ourselves, to improve our marriage. So let's get started. Yes. So this week we're going to be talking about one of the foundations of marriage, which is communication. Communication is very vital, very, very important. You know, if you want to have a successful marriage, you have to build your communication skills. Yes, I say that again. You have to build your communication skill, and you have to understand who you are communicating with. You know, in your marriage, you have to remember that the most important person, you know, in your marriage is God and your spouse. So in marriage, when we are talking about communication, you have to communicate with God about your marriage and with your spouse. You cannot leave one out. You can't leave God out of the communication that you are having with your spouse, and you cannot leave your spouse out of the communication. You can't say, oh, I will just be praying without carrying your spouse along. Or you don't want to say, I will just be talking to my husband without, or your wife without talking to God. You know, so marriage is like a threefold relationship. You know, it's God, your spouse, and yourself. So if one is out of the two, it's going to affect the communication. You know, so you know, it's like, how will you feel? Like you are in a relationship, and you know, it's three people. You know, three people are in a relationship and maybe friendship, and then you find out that they are always leaving you out of the communication or whatever is going on in the relationship. You know, then it's going to cause some issue, right? So that's the same thing when it comes to marriage. If you look at the book of Genesis chapter 3, verse 6 and 7, that was the mistake that Eve made. You know, Eve was engaging with the snake. You know, he was talking to a stranger. He left God out, he left his husband out, and he was engaging, you know, the snake. He was talking to the snake. So in your marriage, you have to be very, very observant. Don't just speak for speaking's sake. You have to, you know, the person you are speaking to, should you be engaging that person, you know, in that communication? Or you should just focus on yourself, your spouse, and God. You know, so a lot of time we talked about third party in marriage, and most of the time third party cause issues in marriage. So you have to study communication. You have to have the skills, and then you have to know who you are talking to. And don't just talk because you want to talk. You want to discuss meaningful stuff. Maybe you have an issue. We talked about feeling in my previous video. We talked about feeling. It is during communication you will express your feeling, and you don't express it in anger, and you should not be selfish about it. You have to also consider your spouse. You also have to consider God, because God is part of the marriage. God is the owner of the marriage. So what does he want? How does he want you to talk? How does he want you to react? You know, those are the things that we need to understand and we need to study. Communication is very, very vital. You don't talk your spouse down. Don't talk to your spouse anyhow. You know, when you are talking, when you are communicating, you want to communicate with love, with respect, you know, and if there is an issue, it is during communication, you will discuss it, and then your spouse will apologize, and then you have to forgive. You know, marriage is all about forgiveness. So maybe with this episode, this is episode 4, maybe we should title it Communication and Forgiveness. So because it's during communication you can express your feeling, then your spouse, you apologize, and of course you bring God in, because God is the one that will make everything to work. So God can prepare your heart, prepare the heart of your spouse, and allow forgiveness to come from the heart of your spouse. So foundations of marriage include communication and forgiveness. During communication, you'll be able to communicate what you like, what you don't like, what is pissing you off, what is causing arguments, what is, you can, during communication, you can discuss about the present, what is going on presently in your marriage, the future of your marriage, and everything. It is during communication that you're able to have, understanding. You want to communicate to understand. Communicate to understand. You don't want to communicate to disagree or to just start another fight. It is during communication you come to understanding what you want your family legacy to be, understanding what you want to mirror to your children. It is during communication you want to, it is a place where it is a place where you table down matter, you table down matter, you express yourself, what piss you off, what makes you happy, what you don't like about your spouse, what you like about them, and then of course, because God is part of it, you begin to talk to God to help both of you, to make the best of the marriage, to love each other more, to be able to forgive each other, to be able to let go of the past and then focus on the present. So communication and forgiveness is really, really important, as one of the foundations of marriage. I pray that God will continue to give us wisdom in Jesus' name. Remember, continue to build your home. Don't be tired of building. God will reward you and God will reward me in Jesus' name. Enjoy your week intentionally. Thank you. See you next week.